In my column this week, I'm looking back to the very start of the pandemic when the first retail data came out in May 2020 that was looking at the impact that the pandemic might have had from February to March, just to see how lockdowns actually change Australians' behavior. And when I first looked at the data, I did have a bit of a chuckle. Simply, usually between 1 month to the next, you have retail data shift by 0 point something percentage points. So you don't see very high shifts month to month. But we saw a 31% increase in liquor sales. And I figured, oh, wow, that is just Australians dealing with the pandemic in the most Australian way. But a couple of rows further down in the data set, I quickly realized that the story isn't just quite as funny. Even though it is probably better from a public health perspective, we didn't drink as much. We saw at the same time from February to March a decline of 31% actually as well in restaurant and bar visits or bar sales. So we didn't start taking up drinking at really high numbers in Australia. What we really did is the sales channel through which we consumed alcohol changed. And that is an interesting observation that a pandemic does not just change shopping behaviors or shopping outcomes, but also behaviors in a way that sales channels change. And there were, of course, at the very start of the pandemic, there were plenty of losers as well. Department stores had to be closed. We didn't buy clothing. We didn't see the need to look all that fashionable. No, when we just hang out at home anyways. No need to buy fancy suits and dresses for the office or social outings. And that was the impact in the first month. But overall, we still saw an increase in retail sales because if all the fun venues, bars, clubs, cinemas are closed, at least we could go retail shopping. And remember that for a while, going to Bunnings was the fun outing that people did. And that actually points me to what happened since. There is a very, very fresh, hot off the press retail data out there as well. And we can now compare February 2020 pre-pandemic retail with May 2021 data. That is the latest available data. And retail has actually shot through the roof. Very successful transition. There are no losers in Australian retail. Even the weakest sector in this comparison, cafes, restaurants, catering sector, still rose by 2%. So we still finally recovered. The V-shaped recovery in retail actually took place in all sectors. That is rather spectacular. Every single one of the 15 retail categories in Australia increased. Very, very impressive. And we have massive winners in there. Furniture sales up by 25%. That is unheard of. And it makes sense. You spend more time at home. You cannot spend big on overseas or not even interstate holidays. So you might as well upgrade the couch on which you spend so much time to the new model. And those online mattress shops are absolutely flooding you with their ads on Facebook until you give in and finally buy a new mattress. That is reflected in the retail sales data. Liquor sales are still up, but that is of course due to constant restaurant closures due to lockdowns all over the shop. There's always a state in lockdown somewhere in Australia. But overall, the retail sectors that increase the most are the sectors that provide us lifestyle. Australia is obsessed with lifestyle, and we are not willing to, go back on this. We are a rich nation. Most people, even though there were plenty of jobs lost and lots of hardship through the pandemic, through the lockdowns, overall Australians managed this really well. There is disposable income to well dispose of, and we're doing this by shopping, by engaging in retail therapy. Overall, my column points a very optimistic picture of Australia. I'm of course linking to the column below, and have a read, have a play with the interactive data tables and charts that I put in there. Just a bit of fun to understand how how your lockdown is actually mirrored in retail data.